What's up, everyone? Thanks for joining us for Making Sales Social Live, coming to you from the Social Sales Link Virtual Studios. I'm Bob Woods, and Stan Robinson Jr. and Bryn Tillman are joining us as well today. How y'all doing?
Good, gentlemen. How are you?
Excellent, thanks.
I feel like I haven't been here in a while.
It's
Yeah,
been a minute, and
but
it's good to have you back in the saddle, as they say. So because we've got a real good one to talk about today.
A really important one, right?
Yeah.
And like this is often we'll say that like this topic is the core of everything we do.
Yep. Yep. So that's a perfect way to roll into this here because we talk a lot about trust here on the podcast as well as we do as a company with all of our clients. Starting trust-based conversations requires an intentional focus on creating a safe, open, and empathetic environment. And that's why we're talking about creating trust based conversations today with LinkedIn and with AI. And yes, you can be trust based with AI 100%. You can use them to lead with curiosity, empathy, and transparency.
Mhm.
So when you do this, you create a foundation for trust-based dialogue that can evolve into a meaningful and productive relationship because that's what we all want. Trust is the easiest way, it's the best way to do it. It's also just the right way, the correct way or whatever you or
yeah,
however you want to actually put that, right guys?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, a slogan we use occasionally is, start trust-based conversations without being salesy.
Mhm.
And, for salespeople, but for anyone, the key to building strong relationships, the key to having, um, a great reputation really all centers around trust. And I think just as human beings, if we can come from this perspective, we're going to have success in every side of our lives, both personally and professionally. So
yeah.
I love this conversation.
Stan, anything to add?
Just that it does take time to build trust. You can't really accelerate it so much. So that's why we say slow down your outreach to speed up your outcome, because you have to allow some time for trust to build.
Exactly.
I love that. If I could piggyback on that, because I think that that is really brilliant. And what happens when we push too fast, not only do we lose that trust and credibility and it hurts our reputation, but we're really coming off with this, what I'm calling engineered empathy, where we start with, it sounds like trust, it sounds like I care, but it really is self centered. And you can't build trust when you are looking internally. Like trust is when you're bringing value externally. So when we focus on the trust based, it has to be sincere. It has to be from our heart and our soul. We can't fake it. We can't engineer it. So I
Yeah.
love that slow it down, Stan. I think that's key.
Yeah, yeah, and it also has to be truly 100% cooperative too. I mean, because I've been in maybe a couple situations where, and this is me being on the buyer side, not on the seller side, but you think you're going great, they're building trust with you and everything else, and then you can almost feel like a hammer drop because
Mm.
that's when their interest comes in. And that's a great way to just absolutely ruin trust, in my opinion. And, it doesn't feel good on the buyer side. Trust me, you don't want to do that on the seller side. Just shift gears completely so that you're away from that true two-person conversation building trust into the hey, now let's talk about business. Now let's talk, like that type of thing.
And that's why one of the, we have all these tenants, 21 tenants to social selling, but one, which is another ebook, by the way.
Yeah.
But one that I hold very close to everything I do which was a Post-it note on my computer for, I don't know, years, is detach from what the prospect is worth to you and attach to what you are worth to the prospect. And that's how you build trust. When you show up from a I want to solve a problem versus I want to make a sale perspective, you start to build trust.
Yep. 100%. So before we move on, we have a free ebook that encompasses everything that we're discussing today. If you're with us live right now, it's at socialsaleslink.com/trust. You can see that on your screen. There's also a QR code in the upper right that you can use as well. If you're joining us recorded podcast, there should be a link in the show notes, and it is, just in case there isn't, it doesn't make it, socialsaleslink.com/trust. So with that, let's get into some of the real specific nitty-gritty types of things when it comes to doing everything that we've been talking about.
All right.
And I forget who's first.
I think I'm first.
I think you're first. That's right. Yes, you're first.
All right. What's my first one? I don't have it open.
Reliability.
Isn't that awful?
Reliability.
Reliability. All right. So reliability, I think from this ebook's perspective, is about the consistency and what I can expect. But I'm also going to say reliability is ensuring that your content is impactful and accurate. Like people can rely on your advice, that when you are giving your tips, when you are sharing value, whether it's in a message, if it's in a post, if it's in a video, if it's here on, watching us live or on a podcast, that you can trust that the information is good. Now, excuse me, good is relative to, it may not be for everyone, but that we're not giving you made up statistics, or you're not giving them information that is not verified. So there's a reliability there, and there's a reliability on that I'm showing up on maybe I'm skipping ahead. I might do this. I do it all the time. But that there's a consistency that I'm showing up, that, or you're showing up. I'm saying me because it's all in my head, but from how I handle this. But for you guys, everyone listening, when you are consistent, when you are showing up with really good value and really good insight that is not attached to any, expectation. So it's value without strings attached.
Yes.
You build trust.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that little part up at the very end, because I definitely believe that one of the things about being reliable is actually when people go to your stuff, they know that they're not going to be pitched. They know that they are going to gain valuable information that they can, hopefully use either immediately or a little bit down the road or whatever, depending on where they're at when they're reading your stuff. But they should never feel like, oh God, this guy's going to pitch to me again. This gal's going to pitch to me again. I'm not going to read. That's the antithesis of reliability, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, content that is based on, I want to sell you something versus, I hope to bring you value and impact your business, is one of the fastest ways to lose trust, for sure. For sure. We have a comment. I don't know if it's Ismu, but everyone should have to review all his insights before posting to to professionals. Yeah. I love that. Look at your content. If we're talking about reliability, look at your content from an external perspective. If you were to read this and there was absolutely no other engagement, would it bring you value? Right? So I get frustrated when it's DM me for the answer.
Right.
Oh,
Right?
Yeah.
That to me starts to lose my trust a little bit. Right? Actually, I'll take that and go to ChatGPT to get the answer, and they'll never even know I was there. So I will comment when you give me a compelling reason beyond, DM me for the answer. I don't like the tease, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes reliability is that I know that if I click to read this, I am going to get the answer. I am going to get value.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. You
Next,
just
who's
need,
number 2?
That would be Stan.
yeah. So I'll blend honesty, which is number 2, with what we were just talking about with reliability, because the ideal with reliability, and AI can help you be consistent, as Bryn mentioned, is to get to the point where people anticipate your content. So if they know you publish every Tuesday, they're looking forward to reading whatever you publish every Tuesday or whatever the day may be. Honesty, just doing what you say you will do and doing what, well, I was going to do it in the reverse. Here's one thing we always warn people about is don't use automation.
Mhm.
And one of the many reasons why, apart from the fact that on LinkedIn it breaks the terms of service, is that if you tell someone, I'm super impressed with your LinkedIn profile and I think we should connect, and I see Bryn smiling now, many times they forget that we can look and see who's viewed our profile. So if you get an invitation that is probably AI generated saying your LinkedIn profile looks awesome, we should work together, and you take a minute and look and see, I don't see this person anywhere, you've destroyed trust before you've even started. So that's just one aspect of honesty, and another is just as the commenter just mentioned. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name, whether it was Asumu, but before you send out anything, check it. If you use AI to generate it, Bob often says, read the content out loud. That way, you'll be sure it's in your voice, because if you trip over something that AI has generated, so will your reader.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
go
when it,
ahead.
oh, I'm sorry, Stan. I thought you were done there. Sometimes you just don't know these things. I just want to add something about when it gets, and this is like real simple stuff too, because sometimes you can bust people. So probably the easiest way to like really lose any sense of honesty is if if you're sending these things saying, I read your profile and I was very impressed. Guess what? The other person on the other side can actually check and see if you actually viewed their profile. If
Yeah,
you
I think
haven't
that's what
actually viewed
Stan
their
was
profile.
saying.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
exactly his
Yeah.
point.
Okay. Yep.
If you're not showing up there,
Right. There specifically though, too. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
yeah, and so and the bottom line is don't send out a note that is not congruent with the truth. Right?
Yep.
Whether you're religious or you're not religious, whatever your God is, just picture he or she watching you. That right? Like I know that's like my litmus test, right? Like is this a lie? Because
Yep.
often with this outreach, that happens, right?
Mhm.
It's this mass outreach. I viewed your, as Stan was saying, I viewed your profile, I checked you out, I liked your content, and then you see that it was scraped because your spelling error is there or your emoji got put in, right?
Yeah.
And so I agree strongly, that that's really important. All right, awesome. I guess you would be integrity then, Bob.
I would be integrity. So integrity flows really well out of reliability and honesty, even though I can't say those words right now, because I mean, because it's like if you're reliable, if you're honest, you will get integrity from that, from all those and more as well. But that means just staying true to your values, whether you're talking about a public post or private messages. So some of the things you shouldn't do. The big one is what Bryn said. You see that all the time on X/Twitter, whatever they're calling it anymore. You did see it for a while on LinkedIn. I think it's starting to go down now, especially because some of the latest algorithm stuff shows that LinkedIn knows that that's happening and LinkedIn doesn't like it happening. So if you're still doing it, just know that the algorithm is taking a dim view of that type of thing, and that's one of the good things that the algorithm's actually doing. Excuse me, but other things are, don't bait and switch. No one likes to be baited and switched. I certainly don't. I'm sure you probably don't
And
either.
we've all
Or
been
using,
victims of it. We've all
yeah,
been victims of it.
yeah, we've all been victims of it, and it still happens every once in a while too. We're getting good at it, but every once in a while, something still sneaks through, and it's and you lose integrity in the eyes of the other person even more when you've like gotten through those filters, and then you switch and it's just like, oh, and they're gone from your mind forever. That's one of the reasons why meaningful conversations, they cannot start from bait and switch. They can't start using engagement solely to pitch. You need to build meaningful connections by aligning your values with your stated goals and your values, and you also need to talk about those as well. So between talking about those and actually just doing and just showing up and being, everything that we've talked about so far and the things that we're going to be talking about is just going to prove that you are that person who can be trusted. Again,
Yeah,
it's as simple as that.
yeah, I think it's so important. I think at the core of integrity are your moral principles.
Hmm.
It's who you are as a human being. So
Hmm.
why, if we put such, um, I think most of us have very strong, or we do our best to very strong moral principles in our life. Why would we not continue that on social? Why would
Hmm.
we not continue that in sales? Why would we shift what we would never say or do to our friends or family and say or do that with our prospects? They're human beings, right? So I think the integrity piece is so important. It really comes down to continuing your moral principles in your business relationships.
Yep, absolutely.
Could not agree
Just
more.
just one thing, since we're in the world of sales and we're used to using like terms like bait and switch all the time, for any of our viewers that may or listeners that
Or
aren't
both.
familiar with the term, yeah, bait and switch is when someone tells you one thing and then actually delivers another. Like, I'd love to set up a call to learn more about your fantastic business. And you get on the call and you talk for 30 seconds and they talk for 29 minutes about their business, trying to pitch you on that.
Yeah, and that happens so often,
All the
and
time.
not just even in the calls, but in messages and a connection
Hmm.
request.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, even the connection request, which is like, that's just the height of, I don't
But
know if
people are
arrogance is the
teaching
right
this.
word, but yeah.
There are people teaching this. There are people selling these programs that are selling the automation programs with these mass messaging, hoping and praying someone says yes.
Yeah,
And that is
spraying.
not the way we want to go to market. We want to go to market with integrity and reliability and honesty. And what's number 4?
You also want competence, Brent, and that's yours.
Competence. It's funny. I talked about this a little bit in reliability,
Hmm.
but competence is, that you are bringing your expertise to the forefront. Competence is when you're sharing incredible value that is actually useful, even if they never talk to you. I know it's kind of like we're repeating this a little bit, but competence is that you're really good at what you do. When you use AI the wrong way, you sacrifice competence because you are looking at AI's research on a topic, not yours. And so I think, competence comes down to the value you can bring based on your knowledge that has proven impact on your clients and in your situation. The way that we overcome this often is we will use a transcript from a training, from a coaching, from a client conversation, from an email answer. We will take, or a blog post that we've put out. And so we will take our voice, put it into AI, and ask it to manipulate it into the type of content we're looking to achieve, into a message using our voice, our content, our transcript. So it's like AI is helping to ghost write for us. It's not writing for us.
Right.
Right. And that's when you can really highlight and leverage your competence versus using AI to sound competent.
Yeah.
It's a great way to put it. That's a
Yeah.
great way to put it.
And for those that don't like to write, and if you may say, well, I hear about these thought leaders who've written books, but that's not me. Talk to ChatGPT using advanced voice mode, either on your phone or the desktop. So you can talk. So just talk to it. That is definitely your voice. And then ask the tool to work with that. So don't let it stop you.
So just a side note. So I am writing another book because I'm, whatever. But part of my book is using books. And, and so one of the ones that I'm using is Gap Selling by Keenan. And I listened to it and I've read it. But I had a question on the ask offer ratio, which is where I originally got the concept. Although I have completely modified it, I wanted to go back to the original concept. So I went right to ChatGPT and I said, based on Keenan's book, Gap Selling, tell me what his definition of the mastering the ask offer ratio is. And it was slightly different than I've used it. So as I reference it, I can give him the credibility of where he brought it in, and then I can talk about my interpretation. But it saved me going through hundreds of pages trying to find it. So I just thought I'd share that, and that just happened yesterday.
Very cool.
So
very cool. Very cool. So now, Stan is going to take one that I think is huge, and I think is not. I don't want to say used because that's not the right word for it. Maybe just tapped into more than anything else, and that's vulnerability.
Yeah. So vulnerability is just being willing to reveal a little bit of yourself. And it's funny, even though it may sound counter to competence, because vulnerability usually involves revealing a mistake or a area where you don't feel as strong. So you're letting people see a little bit more about the human being behind the competence and the performance, so to speak. And people appreciate that, and we can all relate to it. So don't worry about it damaging your competence if you share a little bit of vulnerability, like this is an area where I really need to improve. So I realize I'm saying, everyone needs to get better at XYZ, but it's an area where I'm really trying to work on myself. People say, oh, okay, I can relate to that.
some of the best stories and lessons start with failure.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Yeah.
When we've done something that didn't go the way we wanted it to go, or, we had a launch that wasn't as successful as we expected, or whatever that is, when you express that, number one, you're approachable when you're vulnerable,
Mhm.
right? I think there's also a feeling of when you're honest about your mistakes, I believe in your content more. I believe in what you have to say because you're not out here showboating all the time. And so I
Mhm.
think the approachability level goes way up. And I just think you can't learn without failure. So if you're not out there talking about your failures, how do people know that you even grew, or that it was your own experience that taught you?
And then the other thing about vulnerability, which works well in content and when you're talking to people or whatever, is if you've learned from that, and then if you've learned from that failure or mistake or whatever, what did you do and how did it help you? Because I can guarantee you that the vulnerability that you share, other people have probably been through something either exactly the same or pretty similar, and they're like, I wonder what I wonder what the person who I'm reading right now, I wonder what they did. Give them that answer. Let them know how it's going. But if you're just starting down the path of um, of correcting or whatever it is that you are doing, you could write about that too, and just say, hey, I'm just starting this path, and maybe even ask your audience, what have you done in this situation, and get some conversation started just based on that.
Before we go to the next one, we had a question that came in. How do I develop the fastest communication and engagement? And the answer is to slow it down,
Yep.
right? When you focus on fast, it's about what you need, not about what they need, right? So when you focus on how do I do this fast, it's about your goals, not theirs. So the key, just to answer the question, how do we develop the fastest communication engagement? You want to change the mindset to how do I develop the most meaningful, impactful communication engagement that earns me the right to get the conversation when the time is right.
Yep. It's important. It's very important. So now let's move on to number 6, and that is empathy. That's something that we all as salespeople should have, and I think a lot of us actually do have it. It just means understanding and addressing the needs and challenges of your audience, and hopefully doing it in a way that actually connects with them at some sort of emotional level as well, so that you actually feel what they're going through, and you listen carefully to your prospects or whomever you're having the conversation with, and respond with tailored solutions. Hopefully you're selling something that you can actually tailor to whatever their problem is as well. And being empathetic, just having someone else on the other end of that Zoom call, or on the other end of the phone line, or across a coffee meeting, or whatever, even if they haven't experienced what you've experienced, or vice versa, just being empathetic and just saying, I understand, I understand that this is important, what you are telling me, and I empathize with that, and then just taking the conversation from there. And it's a conversation. This isn't a time to slide into the old sales tactics of, like, digging at the wound and digging at
Pouring
the
salt in the
scab and all.
wound.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. You do it in
That's
a
not
positive.
empathy.
That's not empathy at all.
Yeah.
At all.
So I think it's really important. Empathy allows our buyers to recognize, as Bob said, that we understand the situation they're in and the impact that this is going to have or is having on their business today. The challenge, and I'm going to get into Armin's question in a minute, that's up here in just a moment, but the challenge is when we use AI to try to be empathetic, that's engineered empathy. It's not
Yeah.
real.
Mhm.
Right? So you don't ever want to say, I want to come across empathetic. What I would do, and then I'll get to Armin's question, what I would do with AI is, here is the situation.
Mm-mm.
here is my experience and what I understand. How can you frame my perspective in an empathetic way?
Yep.
So this is where we talk about really leveraging AI to ghost write for your thoughts. Do not engineer empathy. It's not real. Engineered empathy is not real. And therefore, it's disingenuous. It's not honest. I can't rely on someone to be consistent. I can't, like, all of those trust levers get broken when you pretend empathy. So the question Armin asked is, if you use AI to spark conversation on LinkedIn, how do you come across genuine and sincere while optimizing AI tools? The key, and I'm not sure if you're aware, we have a book that the three of us wrote called Prompt Writing Made Easy. We use the crispy framework, and I'll quickly just state the crispy framework is what keeps it genuine. So C is context. What do you want to write? What are you writing? R is role. Who do you want AI to be? An expert ghostwriter, maybe, right? I is inspiration. What inspires this poster? What do you want your audience to feel? S is scope. This is more tactically. Do I want bullet points or numbers? How many characters? If I want a 3-drip email, scope is the physical outcome that we're looking for. P is prohibitions. What do we not want it to do? Like use M dashes or delve or foster or any of those fun things. But the key in authenticity, the key in coming across genuine is the Y in crispy. And this is ask me the questions you need to complete this task in my voice with my perspective, one at a time. When you do that, AI becomes the interviewer of you, not the writer of the content. And then it will ghost write beautifully using your voice and your perspective. So I hope that answers that question.
Yeah, and I just put the link to that in the LinkedIn chat as well. So if you're interested in checking out that book, go ahead and do that as well. So I think with that we are to number 7, Bryn, and that's accountability.
Ha! Accountability. So there's lots of different definitions or uses of accountability. But accountability, I'm going to start with, for me, accountability, we can have, Bob can help me be accountable. He can say, Bryn, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? If I'm going to talk about what accountability really means to me, is that I do what I say. And I know we talked about this in integrity. And I know we talked about this in some of the some of the other topics. But this is about me being responsible for both the actions that I take and the mistakes that I make, right? So
Mhm.
vulnerability fits into this too, right?
Yeah.
And accountability is, if I state something that's wrong, I correct it. That I'm never I don't want people to know about that. No, if I send out an email and I have something that is wrong in it, I'm going to apologize. I'm going to be accountable for that. I use, and whatever you guys use, I use God as my accountability partner. I'm always looking at, is this what he or she would want me to do or
Mhm.
know or be, and that for me is kind of my center. It's sort of my, so I know you're not supposed to talk about religion or politics, but here I am. But at the end, but it's it really is the core that centers accountability, right? Because and believe me, I've had times where I've tried to avoid accountability in my life, where I don't want, I'm nauseous that I made a mistake and I don't want anyone to know, or right, whatever that is. And then I think, is that what's expected of me as a human being? And if the answer is no, then I need to take accountability. And believe it or not, what we fear is so much greater than the perception of the other person. We build things bigger and badder internally. We believe that, that if we confront something that we did, maybe we said something that was inappropriate or wrong, maybe, and if we bring it up, then we're going to upset someone. Well, guess what? Most people will appreciate that accountability that you took way more than you ignoring it.
Yep.
Even if they didn't notice it,
Yep.
even if it was something that you spent hours lamenting over, and you say something and they're like, oh, I didn't even hear you say that, or I didn't even know you did that. It's a perfect example. I called someone in our membership the wrong name for 3 weeks. She didn't have, this was a long time ago. She didn't have her name. It was like first initial, last name. And then when I realized that wasn't her name, and she did know I was saying it, and she didn't correct me, but she goes, oh, I thought it was your little pet name for me. Like, it was cute and it was funny. Like, it was, so we had this whole conversation about how embarrassed I was. And I said, not only embarrassed, that I didn't even look on LinkedIn. Like, it was like, I broke all my rules. But the fact that I literally picked up the phone and called her instead of just starting to call her the right name made all the difference in the world. So just sharing, don't ignore it. And also, not only is it for them, it's for your own well-being.
Right.
When you're accountable, it like cleanses your soul.
Yeah. Yeah. You feel better. You feel better.
Yep.
So, okay. Well, that's a pretty deep way to end this conversation.
Yeah, I know. We did get kind of deep there. So
I hope
so
we
let's
didn't
wrap
lose
up.
too many people in
No, I hope not. No,
my sermon.
Yes, exactly.
That was good. Well, with accountability, the only thing, and I definitely relate to this with Bryn, is you need somebody else to help you stay accountable, whether it's God or whether it's Bob or whether it's your spouse, because at least in my case, I cannot do it by myself because I'm too good at giving excuses, which sound great, to myself. So
I love that.
Else,
we went even deeper. That's great.
Can be painful, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
All right, so we are significantly over time. But
my God.
I certainly, it's funny, when we set out to do this create trust-based conversations, I was like, this is going to be a quick one.
Yep.
Yeah.
20 minutes.
And
I have totally dropped that phrase from my vocabulary when it comes to these Making Sales Socials lives, just because I'm always wrong. Either way, it doesn't matter. So it just goes as long as it goes, in my opinion, anymore. So that's funny, though. So before we wrap things up, though, I wanted to remind you of the free ebook at socialsaleslink.com/trust. Decided to make that one real easy for you this week. Again, that is on the screen. There's a QR code. And if you're listening to us on our podcast, it's socialsaleslink.com/trust. And thanks for joining us on this episode of Making Sales Social Live. We do our live sessions every week, so join us for those. If you're listening to us on our podcast and you haven't subscribed already, we'd really like it if you did, and we hope that you will like it as well. So hit that subscribe or follow button to access all of our previous shows and be alerted when new ones drop. Besides the LinkedIn Lives, we also interview leaders and experts in sales, marketing, business, so many other different other areas that we hope are of interest and of value to you. So catch those episodes as well. And we might even get a little vulnerable during those too. That happens
Ooh.
every once in a while. So if you'd like more information on our podcast, go to socialsaleslink.com/podcast. So when you are out and about this week and every week, be sure you're making your sales
Social. Almost.
social.
Almost.
And yeah, that was close. Thanks, everybody.